What is this? Intake.
Manifold.
And what is this? What is this?
Where Saxon the air.
What is this?
Throttle body.
To control what?
Air.
The flow of air. Ah, here only enter
Air.
air. Excuse me. This is two strokes. Only air. And immediately the air enter suction what? Through the reed valves.
Oil.
Air at high pressure with
Oil.
oil. And the fuel enter on the head from the injectors. This is?
Throttle body.
Ah, I have a sensor here. I have a sensor here. That sensor.
Map.
That sensor. What is that sensor?
Map sensor.
That sensor.
Oh, the
How does
this throttle
the
position.
how does the motor know what position the throttle's in?
How the motor know if it's like this or like this or like this? With
Position sensor.
TPS, throttle position sensor.
And what voltage does every sensor get?
5 volts.
5 volts. And this one here is a 3-wire because you have 5 volts going in, and the computer gets a voltage back as the throttle opens, so the computer can determine how much fuel it needs and the time.
Hey, my friend, look. Follow me. You have 3 terminals here. One is ground, the other is positive, and the other is the signal that is moving from 0.7 into 5. That's okay? Ah, if I punch those cables with needles and I connect my multimeter DC with the engine running in between ground and the signal, and I move the throttle, what happened with the signal in the multimeter? 0.7, 0.9, 5.3, 5.1, 0.20, yeah? Going up and down. That's the procedure to verify the throttle position sensor. You like it? What is that sensor?
Map.
What is that sensor? Repeat.
Map.
Map. Manifold absolute pressure. Because what type of pressure you have inside of this? Negative pressure. No? If I remove this element, I have what? The bracket with the reed valves. Danny, show to them.
Same motor, naked is right here. There you go. There's your revalves. The revalves go right in here. There's your intake. Look where your injectors go. Look at the oil line. Look at all the little oil ports where all the oil lubricates are.
Guys, look. When you remove this, you have this one. You see? You see? And those are reed valves.
How do you spell it? Revolve?
Reed.
Oh, revolve.
Oil ports. Look, these are all the oil ports. They all go in the specific
And I like the
areas.
block with Danny.
See, they're all oil. So you have the injection pump that's in the oil tank, and then you have another one because you have 2 manifolds. These are oil distribution manifolds. So they go and they lubricate the specific areas that need to be lubricated. That's why the emissions are nothing. It burns 75% less oil. Remember, the carburetor is 50 to 1. It mixes it, burns 25%, and the rest gets thrown out.
Hey, my friend, let me check a big difference in between 4-stroke engine and 2-stroke engine, V engine, because this is a V engine. We are going to go quickly to the gasoline 4-stroke, and we'll return to this one. Come on, 1 second. This is the V engine. V engine. What is this? What is this? What is this? Carburetor with intake manifold. The intake, the air with the fuel are mixed and enter to the intake manifold. This is the head. The head in one side have intake port, and in the other side exhaust port. That's okay? One head, 2 heads, and intake manifold. Intake manifold and exhaust manifold. And the carburetor or throttle body or injectors are located here. Yes or not?
Yes.
Okay, this is 4-stroke gasoline. Now we go to 2 strokes. The block. One head, other head. Oh, where is the intake manifold? 2 strokes. Look at the intake manifold. Ah, I see the button. And on top, I have head. I don't have intake manifold here. You understand? That's different. The intake manifold is in the
Bottom.
crankcase. On top, on the head, I have Injectors and spark plugs.
Here's the injector.
Look at the injector. Look at the injector, my friend. Look at the signal. This injector in particular is not 5 volts.
No, this one here. Okay, so depending on the model,
Yeah.
and depending on the system, this system works called the Saxon.
Goofy
It's
looking
at 55 volts. That's why if you look, the engine has a capacitor because the stator, which is your charging system, which you get more involved, will load up the stator, and not the stator, the capacitor, and when it shoots the signal, it has 55 volts.
55.
Key on is 12 volts, and you can, on the static tests on the computer, you can activate each injector on the 12 volt side, but the 55 volt side, you have to have the engine.
Is that
run.
to make it open quicker?
No, it's just the system's designed. The fuel pump, the injection system, the oil pumps, all on 55 volts when it's running.
When it's running.
Okay, so there's a couple things that plays a part. So if you have a bad capacitor, that'll affect your 55 volts. If the charging system on the stator is not putting out the output, so that's why it's important to understand. Well, I don't have 55 volts. Well, then you have to think, okay, well, the computer's one problem, it could be a problem. The stator could be a problem. The capacitor could be a problem, or the harness could be a problem. So what's the easiest thing to check right off the get-go? Capacitor, absolutely. Okay, so on the capacitors, have a couple of ways that happens, and most of them gives a good sign. There's a shroud, a rubber shroud. You pull the shroud off, and there's 2 terminals. On this system, the white wire with the red stripe is your 55 volt circuit. So when you take the capacitor out of the boot, you'll see the 2 terminals. You'll see the white wire with the red stripe. If it's leaking, you're going to see corrosion all on the terminals. Then you know you have a bad capacitor. You can take it off, shake it. If you don't hear the liquid, it's done. Stator, you do a stator output test. Now you would need the manual, and you turn the engine over, and you got to see the voltage that it actually puts out while the engine's turning over. Computer, really, there's no really test for the computer. Then you have to exhaust all the other options before you condemn the computer. Okay?
This is not the intake manifold of this engine, but it's pretty
So
similar.
is this direct injection, or is this multi-port, or is it carburetor?
Particularly this one.
Look at
Yeah.
this. The reed valves, and look at this. What is this?
It's gonna be
Injectors before
What is it?
indirect.
indirect
Like the
indirect
multi-port
fuel injection.
Right.
Okay, this is the intake manifold, and those are the reed valves, and the reed valves enter over there. What is this?
Throttle body.
The throttle body. Where is located? Intake manifold housing. That's okay? And those are the reed valves. The reed valves are located in between this and the block. Good? Look at this. Here enter pure air. In this engine, the fuel here. Air, fuel, and look at this. Look at this. Look at those lines. Those lines are for oil. Now you have fuel, air, and oil entering over there. In this engine. In this one, the fuel enter where? On the injector 55 volts. You know?
Direct injection.
Because it's direct injection. This is indirect. Good?